Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to break down one of the most powerful tools out there for making things better. It doesn't matter if you're running a giant company or just trying to be more efficient at home. It's called the PDCA Cycle, and it's a simple but truly brilliant engine for continuous improvement. All right, let's get into it.
So, let's just start with a fundamental question. Have you ever wondered how the best companies, the ones that are always on top of their game, keep getting better? I mean, is it just luck? Do they have a few geniuses who come up with brilliant ideas? Or is there a system behind it all, a repeatable process they use to constantly push forward?
Well, it turns out the secret usually isn't about making these massive, risky, bet-the-farm moves. The real magic, the real power, lies in something way more disciplined. A continuous, repeatable cycle of making small, smart improvements over and over again. It's a mindset that's built on the idea that you can always be better.
Okay, so to really get PDCA, you gotta know its backstory. This isn't some new age business fad that just popped up. Nope, its roots go back centuries, grounded in the very idea of how we learn and discover things.
Now this is super interesting because you can see a clear line of thinking here. The PDCA cycle is basically the scientific method. Make a hypothesis, run an experiment, evaluate the results, but applied to business. You can trace its evolution from Walter Shewhart's quality control work in the 30s to W. Edwards Deming's famous Deming wheel, which then got refined by Japanese engineers into the PDCA we know today. You can even see its DNA in modern ideas like the lean startup's build, measure, learn loop. It's all connected. And this is where the story gets really dramatic. After World War II, Deming took these ideas to Japan. And Japanese industry didn't just listen. They embraced this systematic approach with everything they had. It became the bedrock of their manufacturing philosophy, and it was a huge, huge factor in sparking Japan's incredible post-war economic miracle.
All right, so we've got the history down, but what is the PDCA cycle really? Let's pop the hood and break down the 4 simple steps that make this engine of improvement actually run.
The first thing you gotta see is that it's a loop, a circle, and that's the whole point. It is not a one-and-done fix. It's a dynamic process, and its power comes from repetition. As soon as you finish one cycle, you take everything you just learned and you immediately spin up the next one, getting a little bit smarter and a little bit better with every single turn. So let's walk through it. First, you plan. This is where you put on your detective hat. You identify a problem or an opportunity, and you come up with a hypothesis, an educated guess for how to make it better. Then you do. You actually run the test, but, and this is key, you usually do it on a small scale first. You don't want to risk messing everything up. Next comes check. This is the moment of truth. You look at the data. Did it work? Did we get the results we expected? And finally, you act. If your test was a success, you act by making that change the new standard. And if it failed, you still act. You take what you learned from the failure and you start the cycle all over again with a much smarter plan.
Let's make this super real. Imagine a busy coffee shop with crazy long lines. Okay, plan. They guess that a new digital ordering system might speed things up. Do. They don't switch everything over at once. No way. They just test the new system during one single busy morning rush. Check. Afterwards, they look at the numbers. Did the wait times actually go down? What are customers saying? And finally, act. The data is clear. It was a huge hit, so they rolled a new system out permanently. See? Simple, structured, and really effective.
And here's what's so cool about this cycle. It's incredibly versatile. This isn't just for fixing coffee shop lines or factory floors. It is a universal framework for solving problems, and it's used by some of the biggest and best organizations in the world. I mean, just look at the range here. Of course, it's a cornerstone of manufacturing, but it's also used to improve patient safety in hospitals, to build and refine new features in software development, and even to manage environmental impact under big international standards like ISO 14001. It is literally everywhere.
Toyota is probably the most famous example, right? The PDCA cycle is baked right into the DNA of the Toyota production system. Their whole philosophy, building people before building cars, is all about this. It's about empowering every single employee to be a problem solver using this cycle to find and fix small issues every single day.
Now let's jump to a totally different world where the stakes are, well, life and death, healthcare. Hospitals use PDCA to tackle incredibly complex problems, like figuring out how to reduce medication errors or how to make the appointment process smoother for patients. It gives them a safe, data-driven way to test changes and make sure they actually work.
And the results? They can be absolutely massive. Get this. One case study looked at a photo frame maker that was struggling with defective products.
By using the PDCA cycle, they were able to slash the amount of bad material by over 60%.
And it's not just about fixing what's broken, it's also about making good things even better. In another case, an electronics company used the PDCA framework to fine-tune their processes, and they saw a 30% jump in their overall efficiency. That's huge.
This thing can even tackle huge global issues. Take Nestle. They use the PDCA cycle to figure out how to conserve water. They planned new methods, they implemented them in their California plants, they checked the data, and they acted on what they found. The result? A mind-boggling 55 million gallons of water saved every single year.
So you can see these incredible results, right? But here's the real secret sauce. The true power of PDCA is unlocked when it stops being just a tool you pull out sometimes, and it becomes a fundamental part of your culture. A shared mindset of always, always getting better.
A question that comes up all the time is, okay, so what's the difference between PDCA and Kaizen? Well, think of it this way. Kaizen is the big picture philosophy. It's the cultural belief in change for the better. PDCA is the practical, hands-on tool that makes Kaizen happen. It's the engine you fire up to actually test and implement all those small, continuous improvements.
And here's a great little piece of trivia. W. Edwards Deming himself, the guy who popularized this, actually came to prefer a different name later in his life, PDSA, or Plan, Do, Study, Act. Why? Because he felt the word check sounded too simple, like you're just ticking a box. He believed study better captures what you're really supposed to be doing, a deep analysis to truly learn why something worked or why it didn't.
And this quote just ties it all together beautifully. At the end of the day, the whole cycle is built on one simple, powerful truth. You cannot improve what you do not measure. That check or study phase, that's what turns guesswork into a science of getting better.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Just for a minute, forget about big, complicated, company-wide systems. What's one small process in your own work, or heck, even in your daily life, that you could improve right now by trying a simple cycle of plan, do, check, and act? The first step is usually the smallest.